when you're first starting out transcribing, the best thing that you can do is obviously pick something that's not going to be too hard for you to transcribe, first and foremost. And as trumpet players, generally that means, picking, a Miles Davis solo off Kind of Blue or a Chet Baker solo or something like that. Just the act of constantly listening to something over and over again and having it be so ingrained in your soul, is just so important. And then taking that and physically writing it down just totally locks it in. And jazz music, just like language, has vocabulary, and you need all that vocabulary to sustain a conversation. The best way to get that vocabulary outside of just listening a bunch is transcribing. And I feel like, finding players that you want to sound like and that influence you the most are good places to transcribe. And I do suggest manually writing it out by hand, like pencil, paper, transcribing.
So I've always thought of transcribing as more of an ear training exercise than anything else. Transcribing really can help your familiarity with vocabulary. Over time, what you realize is this player has these tendencies. In these situations, they tend to play this shape or this line. In these situations, they might start up high and play something that descends in arpeggio or something, or vice versa.
To me, transcribing has been so helpful in so many ways. And I think that there's a lot of things in the transcription process that students miss. I think everybody focuses on learning to play the notes and learning to play the rhythms, and that's great. But to me, that's 50% of the work. The other 50% comes from, number one, learning the articulation, matching the sound, the style, the vibe, the inflections, the scoops, the bends, the falls, all of those small details of the music that are part of the improviser's kind of personality. And to me, those things have helped shape my personality, my musical personality. Taking things from Cannonball, to me, I always say Cannonball is the swaggiest saxophone player. His sound, his vibrato, his scoops, his bends, his glissandos up and down from notes, to me, that's part of my personality of okay, I like to do that too. But there's also things okay, I really love how Sonny Stitt plays really clean, and I love the articulation of Charlie Parker, and I love the smoothness and the grace notes of an Eric Marienthal. And so that accumulation of those musical personalities is now how I come up with my musical personality. And then lastly, to me, the other kind of half of the transcription process comes from analyzing what's happening. And to me, that is the most important part of the process of okay, here's this lick and I really like it. Number one, why do I like it? And number two, why does it sound good? Oh, well, it's because he used a chromaticism using the scale that's associated with the chord, and then he used a chromaticism to connect to the next chord. And then it's not only are you learning how to play that lick, but you're learning the concepts behind the lick. We're learning to understand the licks and understanding how to use those concepts going forward.
This is really fun because I do that anyway. I listen over and over and over. So I was oh, I do this anyway, So, and actually notating it was something I'd never done, but I had been transcribing for years, just learning either a solo or lyrics or whatever. So for me, it's kind of been a pretty big role. I just was listening to this album, this album I found of Ella's that was live in France in the 60s. And she does this insane 3-chorus scat solo on Honeysuckle Rose. And I for a week, that's all I listened to until I got the entire solo. And I was okay, what's next? And I think that's that weird thing where I get obsessed with things.